You're listening to a Monster Kid podcast.
Why don't we rent a video tonight?
Yeah, can we please?
On a weeknight?
Yeah, come on, Mom. It's okay.
Sure. Come on. Let's throw caution to the wind.
Put a little weekend in your week. Rent a video.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Vericon Video. We are open once again, a show where we relive forgotten and unforgettable movies that once lined the shelves of video stores everywhere. I'm Brandon.
And I'm Joseph.
And today we're setting off across Mississippi during the Great Depression, doing a little time traveling here, with chaingangers Ulysses Everett McGill, Delmar O'Donnell, and Pete to find a buried treasure if we can make it past the gangsters, klansmen, and lawmen along the way. That's right, we're talking into this here can about the Coen brothers' Oh Brother Where Art Thou from 2000, because we're bona fide. So sit back, relax, and welcome.
Welcome to the Cafe 80s, where it's always morning in America, even in the afternoon.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. I have the only gun on board. Welcome to Con Air.
Welcome to Jurassic Park.
Okay, good evening, America, and welcome aboard Apollo 13.
I'm so glad you could come. This is going to be such an exciting day. I hope you're enjoying it. I think you will.
Let's get into this summary. So, 3 convicts escape from a chain gang and set out to retrieve a treasure one claims to have buried from an armored truck robbery and encounter a host of strange characters along the way, including sirens, a cyclops, and the devil. So, Joseph, tell me, first of all, do you have a favorite hair product? Do you use hair product at all?
It's funny you ask that because basically 99% of the time I wake up and get ready for the morning, I just use water for my hair. And so I just like splash water to make it look like gel. There's this conditioner, a gel supply. It's literally called Joe.
Joe?
Joe. Yeah.
How appropriate.
Right. But it's like a smell good gel. I have to say that's my favorite hair product. How about you?
I think it's like American Crew brand or something. It's a styling cream, and it smells delicious. I want to eat it, but but yeah, it was it's kind of like pomade, but it's just a little lighter because I don't have thick hair anymore. So I just try to give it a little bit of volume, try to cheat a little bit.
Of course, yeah. I mean, as we all should, right?
That's right. Yeah.
But
yeah.
we can't all be Dapper Dan, man.
That's right. We can't.
Jeez.
Not enough room. So tell me, I know like this was your pick and it's been a while, so since we've recorded and this is really great that we're getting to do this now in the wake of, a public health crisis and
yeah, everything going on.
Yeah. And, but yeah, so tell me a little bit about your memories of and connection to this movie.
Yeah. So the fam, they bought this movie back, 2003, 2004. And every year, we'd be watching this movie. I can't even keep track of how many times I've seen it. And my favorite scene is literally in the beginning where, I'm not going to spoil anything here, but there's a part where George Clooney's character falls off a train, right? And it's literally just the most dramatic, hysterical, like random shit.
Oh yeah,
inside this. It's awesome, right? But it's like every single time I see it, it's always funny, which makes a great movie,
And that was the shot. I remember that shot from the trailer, like whenever the movie came out, and that's always been stuck in my head. Just that shot of him being pulled off of the train, train car. But yeah, like this was one that I think I'd seen this once before on video. I rented it on DVD, and I remember, strangely enough, more about the making of documentary on the DVD than the film itself, because I think at the time I didn't really get it. I didn't really understand what they were going for here. But of course, several years, 20 years later, after seeing, the Coen brothers' body of work and have a more adept intellectual capacity, I suppose.
Yeah.
And I feel like that I appreciated it a lot more this time around. Like this was a lot of fun, and just Tim Blake Nelson I love as Delmar, and John Turturro. And it's just a lot of fun. And everybody I've talked to, Jordan even I talked to recently, and he loves this movie. And we'll finally get to check back in with him during the mid-roll break on Notes from the Tall Guy. So very excited about that. Yeah, so this movie came out in 2000, written, produced, co-edited, and directed by Joel and Ethan Coen, and stars George Clooney, John Turturro, Tim Blake Nelson, with John Goodman, Holly Hunter, and Charles Durning in supporting roles. The film is set in 1937, rural Mississippi during the Great Depression. Its story is a modern satire loosely based on Homer's epic poem, The Odyssey, that incorporates mythology from the American South. And the title of the film is a reference to the Preston Sturges 1941 film, Sullivan's Travels, in which a protagonist is a director who wants to film Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?, a fictional book about the Great Depression. Now, I recently discovered I own the soundtrack to this movie. Like, I had the CD in my car in the glove box, and I had no idea how I came across that. I don't even remember buying that. But the music is so great, and a lot of this music is period folk music, including that of like Virginia bluegrass singer Ralph Stanley. The movie was one of the first to extensively use digital color correction as well. So from a technical standpoint, this was really, really innovative. Like, to give the film this autumnal sepia tinted look, and the film got great reviews, very positive across the board, and the soundtrack won a Grammy Award for Album of the Year in 2001. And these country and folk musicians who were dubbed in the film include John Hartford, Alison Krauss, Dan Matinsky, Emmylou Harris, Gillian Welch, Chris Sharp, Patty Loveless, so many others. And they joined together to perform the music from the film in a Down from the Mountain concert tour, which was filmed for TV and DVD.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, because you hear all these classics inside of the soundtrack, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you also hear like new ones, which is, crazy because they were able to simultaneously just do everything in a similar fashion, and it was just very, very well done.
Yeah.
Like the Big Rock Candy Mountain.
Oh yeah, I love that.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
it's so good.
Yeah, my dad was the one who introduced me to that song. He said, I remember this was in the early days of the internet when I was downloading music from LimeWire and Napster and all that. And that was a song he asked me to download because he's like, oh, I remember I had a record of that as a kid, Big Rock Candy Mountain. And so watching it, for the podcast, I was like, oh shit, that's that song.
Right. Yeah. And side note, but like what's even cool is they add the caption and lyrics pop up on the screen at the beginning of the movie to have everybody follow along. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really cool. But so yeah, the idea of A Brother Where Art Thou arose spontaneously. Work on the script began in December 1997, long before the start of production, and was at least half written by May of 1998. Despite the fact that Ethan Coen described The Odyssey as one of my favorite storyline schemes, neither of the brothers had read the epic, and they were only familiar with its content through adaptations and numerous references to The Odyssey in popular culture. According to the brothers, Nelson, who has a degree in classics from Brown University, was the only person on the set who had actually read The Odyssey.
Wow. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I think was probably a good thing, because I feel like they would have easily run the risk of following the story too closely or
too much.
Yeah. Or it being too limited, too rigid, perhaps. So just having the highlights, kind of the skeleton or the substance undergirding the story, like using that, I think really elevated the material and gave it new life, and setting it in this particular time period with these particular characters. I think that's a really clever approach that they had. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like the less we know about a topic, like if we just have an increment detail of an outline, we can use our imagination to do everything else.
Right. Yeah. We can fill in those gaps. Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. Now, Joel Coen revealed in a 2000 interview that he traveled to Phoenix to offer the lead role to Clooney, who agreed to do the role immediately without reading the script. And he stated that he liked even the Coens' least successful films, but he did not immediately understand his character and sent the script to his Uncle Jack, who lived in Kentucky, and asked him to read the entire script into a tape recorder. And wow. I mean, all this is, this is all lore, so we don't know how much of this is accurate. But unknown to Clooney in this recording, allegedly, Jack, a devout Baptist, omitted all instances of the word damn and hell from the Coen script, which only became known to Clooney after the directors pointed this out to him during the shooting. And
wow.
Yeah. Which I like that approach, because, being able to have access to that particular accent or vocal quality or dialect is, it's incredibly useful for an actor. And so I think that was really clever. Another little tidbit here I thought was interesting that Joel Cohen said that there was a snake catcher on the set. And he said, quote, "We hired this guy and he came to set with a golf club. And what he would do is he would look around for snakes. And if he saw one, he would rope it with the golf club and put it in his bag." And Cohen said, "I asked him what you called somebody with this profession. And he said, an idiot." Delightful.
Yeah, right? Jeez. I'm just thinking about how many times Clooney has to use the words damn and hell in this movie, though. Damn, we're at a tight spot. It's awesome. This was the 5th film collaboration between the Coen brothers and Deakins, and it was slated to be shot in Mississippi at a time of year when the foliage, grass, trees, and bushes were to be lush green. It was filmed near locations in Canton, Mississippi, and Florence, South Carolina, in the summer of 1999. After shooting tests, including film buyback and bleach bypass techniques, Deakins actually suggested digital mastering to be used. He spent 11 weeks fine-tuning the look, mainly targeting the greens, making them a burnt yellow, and desaturating the overall image in the digital files. This made the first feature film to be entirely color corrected by digital means, narrowly beating Nick Park's Chicken Run.
Chicken Run.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is really valuable to know because, before this, this was all done using, photochemical processes and, they call it color timing. And people were very skilled at that, just like people who were negative cutters, like people who edited the film by cutting the film and splicing it together. And so, this it took an entire skill set and essentially to some degree rendered it obsolete. But at the same time, they just took those principles, and adapted those for digital color correction. And now that's the industry standard. It's all done using software.
Right.
But yeah, this film premiered at the AFI Film Festival on October 19th in 2000. It grossed $71.8 million worldwide off of its $26 million budget. And it also received 2 Academy Award nominations at the 73rd Academy Awards for Best Adapted Screenplay and Best Cinematography. And cinematographer Roger Deakins was recognized with both Academy Awards and the ASC's Outstanding Achievement Award nominations for his work on the film. And most recently, he got major props for 1917 for shooting that. And that
was huge.
Outstanding cinematography there. But yeah, let's see what else. What do we got? Oh yeah, the song "Man of Constant Sorrow" that was first published in 1913 by the blind Richard Burnett. And like I said before, the soundtrack became an unlikely blockbuster all its own, even surpassing the success of the film. And by early 2001, it had sold 5 million copies. It spawned a documentary film, 3 follow-up albums, 2 concert tours, and 1 Country Music Awards for Album of the Year and Single of the Year for Man of Constant Sorrow. It also won 5 Grammys, including Album of the Year, and hit number 1 on the Billboard album charts the week of May 15th, 2002, 63 weeks after its release and over a year after the release of the film.
That's phenomenal.
Oh
my goodness.
That was long-winded. But yeah, I mean, that's I think that's pretty spectacular,
It says a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, man, you ready to I'm trying to think of a creative verb here.
I'm ready to get myself bona fide, Brandon.
Yeah, let's get ourselves bona fide and walk through this movie.
Stay tuned after the feature for more great previews. And now, our feature presentation.
All right, so we open up, and this prisoner's musical chant from the beginning of the movie and soundtrack was actually an old recording of a real chain gang. And then we get that great song, Big Rock Candy Mountain. Everett, Delmar, and Pete were introduced to. They escape their chain gang and try to hop a train to Freedom Town unsuccessfully.
Ain't any of you boys Smithies?
What was so great about that is that it was totally unsuccessul. Like you think that this is going to be the first leg of their journey is hopping onto this train, but they can't even make it onto the train. Because even as I was writing my notes, I was like, they meet 4 strangers in the train car. And I was, well, nope, that's not important anymore.
That's not what's going to happen.
So even that kind of misdirection, I really liked. So they come across this blind fella on a whatchamacallit. I don't know what, it's the thing where it's on the railroad tracks, which you push down and lift up, and that carries you across the tracks. Do you know what the thing's called?
Let's just use whatchamacallit.
It's called a whatchamacallit. Yeah, we'll only be using it here and at the end of the movie. Yeah, so they hitch a ride and tells them, it's a really great bit of dialogue here. It tells them that they will find a fortune, but not the one they seek, and they must travel a long and difficult road fraught with peril. Really great dialogue right off the bat here. And we even get a taste of Everett's sharp wit and eloquent speech, which I really like. Like, he's a very defined character, and they're also different from each other.
Right. The guy said something like, you'll encounter obstacles in your path.
Yeah.
Long and difficult road.
I think my favorite character in this movie is Delmar. Tim Blake Nelson. He's just such a great character actor.
Yeah.
But he's from Tulsa, and so it's interesting. Or it's always really great when I see him turn that accent on or use that. Like he does it in HBO's Watchmen series. Which, have you seen that?
I have not.
Dude,
is it highly suggested?
Highly suggested. And right now is the perfect time to watch it. It's so prescient about what's going on in the world with police brutality,
everything,
and masks, and
wow,
and civil rights. But yeah, definitely go check that out. And he is fantastic in that. So they come across this small farmhouse and a boy with a shotgun. I don't. Oh God, I'm sorry, but they ask, "Is your daddy about?" And so Pete knows the father. They're related. This is Wash, played by Frank Collison of Twin Peaks season 3, and for our older listeners, you might remember him from Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman. But anyway, the trio dined together that night with the Hog Wallops, Wash and his son, and they're eating this stew. And this was so great. He was like, "I slaughtered that horse last Tuesday. Afraid she's starting to turn."
Yeah. And he was like, Miss Hogwallop up in an RUNNOFT.
Yes. I love that, because they get a lot of mileage out of that joke too, because later when the boy breaks them out of the burning barn, he says, we got our, he says the same thing. No, that's great.
Afraid she's starting to turn. God.
But yeah, the actor that plays Wash, he's really good. I've seen him in a lot of stuff, but he just has this look about him that I don't know the best way to say this, but he has a very distinct quality.
He does.
In his face. Like, his eyes are kind of funny. Yeah, I don't know. He was really well cast here. Again, in the writing, like, it's just so good. Like, I don't know where the Coen brothers are from, but they have such a good ear for that period. Even though it's a little exaggerated to some extent, it feels very authentic.
Yeah. I mean, it feels like you can easily just step into a door and be a part of it because of how much they give you,
Oh, yeah.
It's awesome. And in the script, oh my goodness, the script in this movie is just outstanding.
I think, and I've talked about this a lot on this show, but like, it really bothers me when there's stories set in the South or like characters from the South. I'm just more critical of that because, I am from the South, and when it's done poorly, it's very noticeable, and it really turns me off. Like, it doesn't feel faithful, I guess, in some way, or again, maybe
true to the story.
Yeah, I really applaud them for tapping into that in a very positive and creative way. So they're all sitting around listening to the radio, playing "You Are My Sunshine," and this takes me back to 4th grade. Like we had this music teacher. Paul Walker was his name. He was an older gentleman, but he would bring in his guitar. He would play and sing "You Are My Sunshine," and it was just, I don't know, it just makes you feel good. The song itself just feels like sunshine on your face. So Everett, he's combing in his pomade, and we get a little bumper for the Pass the Biscuits Papio Daniel Flower Hour. And Everett asks Wash for a hairnet, and he finds one in Jan Bureau.
Yeah. You can find one in the Jan Bureau.
Jan Bureau. Yeah, even stuff like that. It's just like Jan Bureau,
Like, who says that anymore? It's awesome. Great.
So our gents are asleep in the barn, and they're surrounded by the police.
Police? Yeah.
Did you like that I capitalized the P and the O? Just so I remember to say police.
Police.
Have you ever, this is a little side thing, but did you ever see True Detective?
Yeah, I did. Oh my gosh.
That first season, I watched that like twice a year. It's just so freaking good.
It's so good.
But Matthew McConaughey's character, says he's like, I'm murder police. Do something I forgot with impunity. Really good. Go watch that, people. If you haven't seen
guys.
True Detective, second season's not that great. Season 3 is better, But season 1 is just masterful.
Season 1's outstanding.
Yeah,
season 1's
writing,
outstanding.
best character development I've ever seen in any show.
I could definitely argue that. Yeah, for sure.
They're so authentic, like just so relatable, like and flawed characters. But anyway, I wish we could do like a sideshow on True Detective season 1.
Oh my gosh, that's actually a good idea. That's an idea though. Like
it is an idea
for TV shows.
Yeah, what would we call it? We could have a little sideshow. We could put it on Patreon or something.
Yeah.
We could do that.
Wow. Look at this in episode dynamic here. This is wow.
It is, yeah. You're listening to this idea, percolate and come to fruition live. So back to Brother Art, though. So the police are there, the lawmen, and Wash had turned them in. Pete ain't too happy about it, and so they set the barn on fire. Come and get us, coppers! I love that. So we get Sheriff Cooley with these cool shades. Now, this character wears mirrored sunglasses and he's referred to as the devil, just like Boss Godfrey and Cool Hand Luke.
Right.
But he's played by Daniel von Bargen, who most people might remember as one of, I think he was one of George Costanza's bosses in Seinfeld. But he's a good actor. I'm a little conflicted about his character because like he's referred to as the devil because later whenever Tommy meets up with him at that crossroads, he says that he sold his soul to the devil and he said he had a hound with him and such. But he's a lawman. So I don't know. What do you make of that? Like him being the sheriff, but also the devil.
The devil. So it's a very creative concept in my opinion because we see a lot of racial tension in this movie. Mm-hmm. A lot of it. And it mostly stems from white men, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, when you have a guy with shades, I mean, we don't ever see his eyes, no. I guess, ever. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we just see his shades. And when you have someone who you can't really identify like that, and all he does is literally destroy things.
Yeah.
And it also, I guess you can also say that it really plays a lot of huge, overwhelming, over dramatic sequences with the law and how people handled the law in their own way back then.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, you had like the big, huge law papers of the town, of the state, of the country. But then you had the local authorities who more often than not used their own authority in their own way
mm-hmm.
from their own point of view.
Right. Yeah. So it's essentially mob violence or vigilante.
Yeah.
Vigilantism, I guess is the word, but while wearing a badge. So it's not, I don't know, it's weird.
Right,
it's like You're not a civilian taking the law into your own hands. You're part of the law. Or you represent the law, but yet you bastardize or you subvert that in some way. Yeah, okay, well, we're just going to do what we want. I don't know.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, I mean, but that makes sense. Is that why he would be known as a devil? Because you really can't see who he is, but yet he destroys everything in his path.
With those glasses being mirrored.
You can see the flames.
You can see the flames, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that is such a great image. And I like those glasses, too, have these little like side protectors, like safety glasses. And so like you can't even see his eyes from the side, and so just that mystique that they create around him is really interesting. I think it's very cool.
All right. So I just found the script and I scrolled down to the point where the scene where we're talking about, and I just want to just read a few lines here. Okay. So they get found in the shack, right? And Delmar's like, "What in a Sam Hill?" And then Everett says, "Pete's cousin turned us in for the bounty." And then Pete says, "The hell you say? Wash is kin." And then and then Wash from the outside, he says, "Sorry, Pete. I know we're kin, but they got this depression on. I got to do for me and mine."
That's good. Pete, that was really good reading there.
And then Pete says, "I'm going to kill you, Jesus, a scared hog, Walt, you miserable, able, hoss-eating son of a bitch." Awesome.
Man, John Turturro is another one of those actors that just like he's so versatile and he can be so funny and so intimidating. I mean, he can be all these things and
it's awesome.
Yeah, he's great. Another, since we always talk about HBO on this show, another great limited series to watch is The Night Of, which is very excellent. And John Turturro was in that. He's really good. But he's so funny in this. But yeah, so the boy drives this Model T through the barn as it's on fire and saves them. And why don't we have this as a theme park attraction? Like I know. I like last year, went to Universal and rode some great rides. And of course, all the really great rides are gone. That's debatable. But I was thinking like this would be so freaking fun. Like, you're in this burning barn and then this boy comes in with a Model T and you get in and then you got to run from the cops,
right.
And then you can meet all these characters along the way. And
it would be so cool. It really would.
A roadblock of klansmen with a burning cross in their hand. No, I'm just sorry. That's reality right now. But,
it is reality. Yeah.
If you're listening to this way into the future, this is 2020, the very memorable 2020 in progress. Yeah. So they turned the boy loose at daybreak. I don't really understand what happened to the car.
It was there. It broke down.
Oh, yeah. They make a mention about needing a part or something, right?
Right, and they couldn't find the part. Nobody was around.
Yeah.
So they just ditched it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know Everett goes into town. He tries to get some of his favorite Dapper Dan pomade to no avail.
Yeah.
And but he does get a dozen hairnets. And they have 4 days to get to this treasure because it's in an area that is supposed to be flooded for new dam, I believe.
Right. Yeah, new dam. Yep.
And but going back to Turturro for a second, like he's using this accent that he would pretty much repurpose later in Secret Window. He would say, "You stole my story." Yeah.
Yeah.
But he's just got that great accent. And he's from Brooklyn.
Wow.
It's impressive that's a pretty believable accent he's developed. And like we say, Clooney's from Lexington, Kentucky. Tim Blake Nelson's from Tulsa. So they have those sensibilities about how to approach the accent. And I really like. They fight because Everett stole Wash's pocket watch to sell, to get some cash. And Delmar offers Everett this gopher that they caught and cooked 3 times. He offers him some gopher. And I don't know why it's so funny.
You want some gopher?
Want some gopher, Everett?
You want some gopher?
Oh man, this is just such a strange film. Like it really is. Maybe it just gets stranger because I think like as we're talking about it, I feel like at times like I get a little hyperventilated a little bit, and then I just get a little goofy in the head. So,
right.
They come across these men and women in the woods. This congregation, they're singing as they walk towards the river to be baptized. And I remember hearing a version of this on the radio a lot back then. It's on the soundtrack. And there's a strangeness about the way this sounds because you can clearly tell this was recorded in a room with the reverb, natural or added. Yet they're outside. So sonically, it's a little strange and it's there's something unnatural about it.
Yeah.
Surreal.
Surreal. Yeah, surreal.
That's what I was looking for.
Right.
So I like that a lot. Delmar dives in to get saved. Well, I'll be a some bitch. Delmar's been saved. And he's feeling pretty invincible. Sin's washed away and all. And Pete gets baptized too, doesn't he?
Yeah.
But Everett doesn't.
Everett's the only one. He thinks it's a joke.
Yeah. So Cooley is on their trail with his bloodhound in tow. And so they're back in the car. And Everett tells Delmar, "You might be square with the Lord. By the state of Mississippi, it's a little more hard-nosed." He says, "Boys are dumber than a bag of hammers." That might be my favorite line from the movie.
Oh my gosh.
Dumber than a bag of hammers. Send us your most creative. You're dumber than a ... Send that to us on Twitter. We love to hear these.
That's awesome.
So they pick up this young fella, Tommy Johnson, at a crossroads. Said he sold his soul to the devil to play the guitar, and said I wasn't using it. So the devil is white with empty eyes and has a bloodhound. Says he's going to Tishomingo to see a man about singing into a can for money. So they arrive at the WEZY radio station out in the middle of nowhere.
This is great.
This is great. This blind owner is played by Stephen Root. He's a fantastic character actor. You'll see him in a lot of stuff, and he looks pretty different and everything. Most people will know him as Milton from Office Space. But he says he's looking for some old-timey stuff, and they introduce themselves as the Soggy Bottom Boys. And I'm going to go ahead and throw this out here because this is why I haven't gone back to revisit this movie, is because this scene bothered me so much. And yet it's such a memorable, iconic moment from this movie. And it's because the lip sync is so, I don't buy it. Like when they sing, like George Clooney reportedly practiced singing for weeks, but in the end, his singing voice was dubbed by Dan Tyminski. And I just never believed that was him singing.
Yeah. I mean, as much as he tried.
Yeah, but it looked, I think it was just obvious because he's singing like this with the microphone in front of his mouth so you can't see the lip sync, like how off it is. Right. I mean, he's trying to sell it. Like, he's a great actor, don't get me wrong. Like, I love George Clooney, but there was just something about it that felt off. But later on, like towards the end, it's a lot better. I think it's a lot more believable whenever they do this reprise of Man of Constant Sorrow for the crowd.
I agree.
But we'll get to that in a second. Stephen Root's character, I don't think they name him. He's just the owner of this radio station. But he seems to be enjoying it in the record booth. He's like, boy, that was some mighty fine of picking and singing.
Yeah. Right before they go in, they were like, the Sayonara boys haven't steeped in old time material. Hank, we're silly with the ancient boys. And then, then Pete's like, all except for our accompanist.
Yeah, that's right. At first, they thought that they had a better shot if they told the man that they were black, right.
And
then they're like, oh, we're not black, actually, except for our accompanist.
And then Everett sells them more money because he sold them for 6 people instead of 4. Because at the end, he's like, Mert and Aloysius will have to scratch X's. Only 4 of us can write. So even for the 4, so he got more money. This is crazy.
Right. I didn't pick up on that. That's a good catch. Yeah, they make a deal. They make $10 a piece. And let's look that up. Well, this is 1937.
Mm-hmm.
So that'd be $178.05.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
Not as much as I was expecting, but then again, this is the Great Depression, So
yeah.
But I love that Pappy O'Daniel and his entourage show up. And Delmar tries to tell him about the money to be made singing into that can. There's a fella in there that'd pay you $10 to sing into his can. And he's like, I ain't here to make a record, you dumb cracker.
Wait. Dude, this guy's lines, I swear to Bob. Take a leg, Junior. Thank God your mama died giving birth. If she'd seen you, she'd die of shame.
Oh man, this is just some great writing. Like the Coen brothers have a knack for this. Like they're excellent screenwriters. They have a really great ear for quirky dialogue, and so Pappy and his crew, they go in to do their broadcast, and we get the first of many campfire scenes. Tommy is singing and playing, and they have a sleep and dream of silk sheets and that $1.2 million, and talk about what they're going to do with their money. Pete wants to open up at this restaurant, to wear a bow tie and a tuxedo, and Delmar wants to buy back the family farm. You ain't no kind of man if you ain't got land. Everett has no plans, he says. The lawmen find a nearby barn and their car. They don't see the 3. They're out in the woods. Tommy ran, the barn set on fire. Boys are walking. Up drives the notorious bank robber, George Babyface Nelson, asking for directions. Money just flying out of the car. And 2 other cars that are following, they hop in. Asks them if any of them know the way around a Walther PPK, which is a gun. It's a German pistol that would become actually James Bond's weapon of choice up until Tomorrow Never Dies, I think. But Delmar said, well, that's where we can't help you. I don't reckon that's in Mississippi or something like that. Everett takes the wheel so Babyface can unload a Tommy gun on the copper trailing behind. And he shoots the cows too. I was not expecting that. I didn't remember that from the first viewing, but I was like, holy shit, they did
cows. I hate cows more than coppers.
That's pretty good. So we should mention that the American Humane Society mistook a computer-generated cow in the movie for a real animal and demanded proof before they would allow the use of their famous disclaimer, no animals were harmed in the making of this motion picture. So after seeing a demonstration at Digital Domain of how the cows were created, the Humane Association allowed the now familiar, but then much rarer, scenes which may appear to place an animal in jeopardy were simulated.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
Yeah, those poor cows. I was like, oh.
Yeah. Then they get one gets run over by one of the cars.
Yeah, well, the cows get in the road because Delmar's like, oh no, George, not the livestock.
Yeah.
Oh, it's great.
Delmar. Delmar, man.
Yeah, these cows get in the road and they block the police, so they make their getaway. And they unwillingly take part in a bank robbery with George Nelson. And he's just unloading all these rounds in the bank, and like no one's flinching. And he's not too happy when somebody refers to him as Babyface. So he gets into it with this woman who whispers to somebody that, "Is that Babyface Nelson?" And what does he say?
It's like 70-year-old woman too.
Yeah. I hate it when people call me Babyface. And so they leave. So the real Babyface Nelson was a homicidal gangster named Lester M. Gillis, who was known for his hot temper and itchy trigger finger. And he was subsequently shot to death by FBI agents in Barrington, Illinois, November 1934, 3 years before the setting of this film.
Wow.
So
interesting. Maybe he resurrected?
Could be the ghost of Babyface Nelson.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, because he does just, like in the next scene, they're at the campfire again, and George looks sad. He leaves him some money and just walks away. Says, what goes up must come down. I think it's Delmar. Seems a little concerned about him.
Yeah, Delmar, yeah.
But one of them says, I don't think we've seen the last of George Nelson. You know, I thought that was pretty cool. But why do you think he was behaving that way, or like why he just walked off? Like, how did you read that scene?
So I think definitely being around these three guys allowed Nelson to, I guess, see a bigger point of view than just robbing banks, I guess, because with seeing these three guys, he realized there's more to just than robbing banks to find happiness. Because I think he realized that these three guys were just totally fine with being themselves, rather than being somebody who you aren't meant to be. So Nelson, he found solace in just taking from others, but these other three guys weren't doing that, and we're having a great time just not doing that. And so he was like, basically mentally, what have I been doing my whole life? Yeah,
that's an interesting read on that. Like, I was always, well, not always, like, but since I watched this for the podcast, that's been one of the questions that I felt went unanswered, is why this mood change. I like your reading of that.
Also, there's his signature line is, well, thank you, folks. And remember, Jesus saves, but Jordan Nelson withdraws.
Yeah. I remember that. Yeah, that was good. That was good. I think even in like the old Westerns and stuff like that, and even like the period films that they did, like Walt Disney did in the 50s and 60s, I guess more in the 60s, but you saw stuff like that, like where bank robbers had a very Hollywood style bank robbery, and the bank robbers had to have like a little catchphrase and all that, and the big bags of money with the dollar sign on the side and that kind of thing. Oh, so Homer Stokes for governor, this campaign wagon rolling through onto the WEZ station. And this guy, Mr. French, talks to the owner, and he's looking for the Soggy Bottom Boys. And we catch up to our boys. They're on foot. I'll Fly Away is playing. Man, I'm back in church.
Right?
Yeah, it's a great song. They steal a pie. I believe it's a pie, like from a windowsill. And more campfires sitting as they eat. And it's a cool little shot. There's this newspaper that says Soggy Bottom Boys are a hit, but they don't see it. It's burning in the fire. And the stores can't keep it on the shelves. We get a little montage there. I think that's cool.
And the guy that saw the blind man in the radio building, he was like, well, that record has just gone through the goddamn roof. They play it as far away as Mobile. The whole damn state's going apey.
Going apey. Oh man,
yeah, it's awesome.
So good. Thinking about Great Depression era films, I recommend the 90s film adaptation of Mice and Men with Gary Sinise, old Lieutenant Dan himself, and John Malkovich. And it's directed by Sinise too, but it's very, very good. Very good adaptation.
I love that film.
The book by Steinbeck is very good too. It's just over 100 pages.
Yeah.
Very, very good. But yeah, so Everett, he gets his Dapper Dan, and they're on the road again. They got a car, and Delmar's been in the back, picking on a banjo. Pete freaks out, and he has Everett pull over. There are these women washing clothes in the stream on the rocks, and I believe these are the stand-ins for the sirens in the Odyssey.
Yep.
But Pete's the first one to be smitten, and this melody is very. It's like the Snake Charmer thing. Like it's
hallucinating.
Yeah, it's seductive.
Go to sleep, you little baby.
Yeah. Honey in the rock and the sugar don't stop.
Yeah.
And Everett and Delmar, they quickly are seduced by their singing, and these three women, they approach and give them a drink. One squeezes Delmar's cheek, and they're just entranced, each one of them, and then it fades out. And they wake on their backs. They're all like splayed out, like on the rocks. And so when they get up and they look where Pete would be, and his clothes are laid out, like he just disintegrated. And and Everett wakes, my hair.
That's the first thing he says.
First thing he says, my hair. and Delmar thinks Pete was turned into a horny toad. It hops out of Pete's shirt collar, and it goes into the river, and Delmar frantically is trying to recover him, and eventually gets him. And they're back in the car with the toad, and of course it's Pete. Look at him. We got to find a wizard to change him back.
Oh, jeez.
They go have a bite. They're at this nice restaurant, and Everett and Delmar are there, and they get the attention of this one-eyed man in an ice cream suit, a stand-in for the Cyclops, played by John Goodman. This is Dan Teague, Big Dan Teague, and he senses they have money. Says he's in sales, Bibles, pretty much just says, cover my bill, and we'll retire to more private environs, talk about the money to be made in the Lord's name, basically.
Yeah, I mean, his vocabulary is so distinguished. I mean, it's like every single line has some type of like over dramatized grammar,
Yeah, it's very emphatic, and John Goodman he's really good at that. Like even in he worked with the Coen brothers on The Big Lebowski. Like he just has this kind of cadence, with this dialogue that just really brings it to life. And like you said, it's very distinguished and even elevated at times. We'll retire to more private environs. And, so just to show that he is he's an educated man. And, but yeah, Pappy's there too. He's off to the side. He's worried about his campaign.
Fantastic.
And Joseph, this guy that Pappy throws his hat to, that's in his little posse, this is Dr. Carswell from What About Bob? This is the one that Leo talks to on the phone at the beginning of the movie, who was Bob's previous psychiatrist.
Oh my gosh.
When I saw him, I was like, that guy looks familiar. And just the more I looked at him, I went and looked him up, and I was like, yeah, that's Dr. Carswell.
That's awesome.
He's not in it very much, but he's Pappy's cronies.
the Pappies.
Yeah, the Pappies. That's his little gang, the Pappies.
The Pappies. Pappies like, he gets so mad so easy.
Oh,
Is that the best idea any boys can come up with? Reform? Weeping Jesus on the cross.
Weeping Jesus on the cross. Yeah, the boys, they picnic with Big Dan by this tree, and Dan rips this huge limb from the tree, and he beats him to hell, or Delmar gets the worst of it, and he robs them, and he finds the toad and crushes it and throws it against the tree. And Delmar looks like he's having a heart attack. It's a great scene because, as a viewer, we don't know if that's really Pete or not.
Right.
At this point. But yeah, Big Dan, he'll get his comeuppance later.
Oh my goodness. It's just awesome. And then, Everett just literally got his food just taken out of his mouth.
Yeah.
He got hit.
Because even at first, Everett doesn't really react, does he?
He just doesn't know. Yeah, he doesn't know what the hell's going on.
He's very perplexed. So it's a pretty drastic cut here. It's night. There are these guys with torches, and Pete, he's strung up and whipped, and Cooley and his hound are there, and they want to know where the others are, where Delmar and Everett are. Yeah, again, just love the way the fire is always reflected in his mirrored lenses. Such a great, simple, and effective trick.
Yeah.
And so they threaten to hang him. Will Delmar and Everett rescue Pete in time? Find out after we first check in with Jordan, the tall guy Schmidt, to find out what he's been and what you should be watching. And we'll be back right after this.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
From the deep, dark recesses of suburban New Jersey, this is, once again, Notes from the Tall Guy. I'm Jordan Schmidt, no, not that one, and I hope you're all staying safe out there at the moment. Unsurprisingly, I have been watching a lot of movies lately. Here are my latest findings. First of all, I'll start you off with a shocker. National Treasure 2: Book of Secrets might, in fact, be better than the original. As well regarded as the original is as a fun Nicolas Cage caper, The sequel, done in 2007 by different writers, but ultimately the same people, does everything the original did, but way better. It feels more pronounced, more epic, more of an adventure film than a formality. Ed Harris is an incredible villain in this, and it helps that he puts a ton of thought into his character. From scene to scene, we're not sure whether we should trust him or not, right down to the end. Cage is more unhinged. I mean, his usual stuff is what goes on here. The action is better paced, the slow scenes are better written. It ultimately feels like something more than just a puzzle to put on a rainy day. I felt really impressed by this one. It's on Disney Plus if you feel so inclined. This week on Why Hasn't Jordan Seen This Yet? Heathers from 1988. I know. This is one of those 80s films that everybody seems to have seen, and yet I haven't. I lied about seeing it for a while. I know I shouldn't, but none of you can tell me what to do. I forget what had been keeping me from it, probably time, but since I have so much time lately, I went for it. This movie's script is unfair. The dialogue is so damn stylized and polished that it made me very angry and very jealous. Winona Ryder and Christian Slater are so good here that I wish they were better in subsequent studio films. The eventual structure and rabbit hole plot movement is so diabolical and twisted in the best way possible, and I do love the dark but fitting outcome we get for our character. Genuinely great movie, appeals to my demented sense of humor. This week's hidden gem on streaming, Murder Party. I will preface this by saying if you haven't seen Green Room, what the fuck are you doing? It's on Netflix. Go, it's incredible. Also on Netflix, along with Jeremy Saulnier's entire filmography, and way to go for Netflix for that, is Murder Party. His first film from 2007, done on, and I do not exaggerate at all, no budget. None. With acting performances by all his friends and probably produced by a family member or something. It's a cool, dark little Halloween movie. Why I was watching it in April, I have no idea. Its use of Steadicam, especially in intense scenes, is fantastic. It's a nice little preview into Saulnier's eventual talents with long shots. While I'll admit this is clearly an early effort, and that the eventual slow burn climax would have been better with a bigger budget, this was still a very cool little slasher-esque kind of movie. Kind of reminded me a little bit of Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon, though a little bit better than that. I am glad I saw it. Definitely does not top Green Room or Blue Ruin, though. What got me out of my house, or rather the last thing I did before the lockdown, was Pixar's Onward. If I had have known this would be the last movie I would see in theaters before the quarantines, I'd have picked something a little bit better and artsier, but a Pixar movie will do. Onward was pretty good, though. Very boilerplate Pixar, with some usual tactics from the last decade of their work. Tom Holland and Chris Pratt were great. Octavia Spencer and Julia Louis-Dreyfus were better. I love the animation. I enjoyed the fantastical realism and world building we got. Very cool little things they did throughout there. Solid enough movie, if kind of okay, did the trick. That, for the moment, is all I have to report. I've been Jordan Schmidt, I think. Be careful out there. You never know what'll creep in when you leave the door open long enough. Till the next time.
We're back, and Everett and Delmar are back with this hay truck. It doesn't seem right digging up that treasure without Pete, they say. And they pass this chain gang. They do this a few times, where they have these close calls with the chain gangs. But here we are, Homer Stokes for governor again. This rally and concert. We're singing Keep on the Sunny Side of Life. And you do 4 more years of Pappy O'Daniel, you dumb cracker. I don't know who this Homer Stokes actor is, but he's really good in this. He's politicking.
Preacher of the Little Man.
Preacher of the Little Man. Got our boys rolling through the crowd. Everett sees his daughter on the stage, finds out her mother told her that he was hit by a train, and now Mama's got a new beau. He's bona fide.
He's bona fide.
Bona fide. Everett isn't.
Mama said you got hit by that train.
Yeah, he finds his ex-wife, I guess.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, that's never really explained.
Whatever happened.
Yeah. And so she's with Vernon now. Vernon, what's his last name?
Waldrop.
Waldrop, yeah. But Everett is the...
I'm the damn paterfamilias.
Paterfamilias.
my dad uses that line all the time.
That's a great line, man. I mean, major points. One, to have the balls to use that word paterfamilias, in casual conversation.
It's awesome.
She divorced him out of shame, and I like that he boxes Vernon.
It's like this,
Yeah.
He uses his arms away from his face.
His arms are way out there. It's very much of the period, like just that style of boxing.
Right.
You can't swear at my fiance. And Everett gets tossed from Woolworths, and he and Delmar taking a movie, and Everett's filling him in on what happened. Delmar said, Everett, I never did figure you for paterfamilias. And it's, again, this is just such great writing where it's such a good joke, but it's, there's just so many layers there because that Delmar probably doesn't understand the word.
What a paterfamilias.
Yeah,
right.
It
fits into his character.
Never did figure you for a paterfamilias.
Oh my gosh.
But it's, I don't know. There's just something about this. It just screams brilliance now. And so they're in the theater. This chain gang, they trot into the theater, and they're trying to lay low. Everett and Delmar are. We're at the picture show, and Pete is there in the chain gang, and he tells them, he says, "Don't seek the treasure. It's a trap. It's going to be an ambush." And they're trying to whisper to each other, like from several rows apart.
Thought. Wait, no. Pete's like, "Do not seek the treasure." And then Delmar's like, "We thought you was a toad."
It's so great because Pete's like, "What?"
They keep doing it back and forth.
But on this stormy night, they're able to rescue Pete, and Pete tells them that he told the authorities about the treasure. You're my boon companions. I don't even have context for that. I can't even remember who said that.
Oh, Pete told Everett and Delmar because Everett was like, we're getting rich and stuff like that, and we're free and we can do whatever we want, and Pete's getting all excited about it.
Yeah. But Everett confesses there ain't no treasure, never was, never knocked over no armored car. He escaped pretty much so he could stop his wife from marrying Vernon. Delmar and Pete are like, "What the fuck?" We were about to get out.
Yeah.
And then there's some great banter here too. Pete says, "I'll be 84 years old." Like
by the time they get
out of prison, yeah. Delmar's like, "I'll only be 82. That's so good. So they scuffle and they tumble down this hill, and there's this chanting, and it sounds like the Winkies from The Wizard of Oz, like those guards. Yeah, not too far removed from
right.
Or however it goes. But yeah,
that's awesome.
It's the Klan, the infamous Klan, lots of them dancing around a burning cross. About 350 extras were hired for the Klan rally sequence, and many of them were members of a military formation troop, and several were actually African Americans. And Joe Cohen later recalled hearing one say, "This is the freakiest thing."
Yeah, seriously.
The singing Grand Wizard fella in red bed sheets.
Yeah.
They dress up in the horses and bed sheets and ride around. But yeah,
oh my God.
But a little tidbit that I just learned a few weeks ago. The Klan got the burning cross thing from a movie. It was from D.W. Griffith's Birth of a Nation. Like that image was used in the film in a sequence with the Klan in it, and just because they thought it would be a striking visual, and so the Klan in real life adopted it. So there you go. More you know.
Man,
you'll learn something today. I'll learn you something good by the end of our time talking into this here can. Our boys are looking on at the scene, and God, the soundtrack is so good. But also similar to Oz, our three boys, they capture some Klansmen and take their robes, just like the Scarecrow, Tin Man, and Cowardly Lion do, and whenever they go to rescue Dorothy. The Grand Wizard, he's talking about heritage and lynching and all that. But that's in real life. Let's see what's going on in the movie. So it's Tommy. He's about to get hanged, and Dan Teague marches up and exposes our boys. And it's revealed that Homer Stokes is the Grand Wizard, and Teague is almost impaled with that flag you can't have in public no more.
The color boys are the color guard.
Yeah, the color boys are the color guard. Man, that's such good writing.
Right?
Man, it's so weird. Like, as I was watching this movie, like, I was thinking just how freaking insane this year has been.
I know.
7 months in.
What a year.
We've run the gamut, of a lot of the stuff that we're talking about right now. But, having that Confederate flag there, in that scene, I was like, I know, like, I'm about to go back home and see my folks. I'm flying out tomorrow. And I'm sure they're going to be so upset about that. They'll want to talk about why it's their right to have the Confederate flag on their lawn or whatever, which they don't. They don't. But believe me, when I go back home, I'm going to see lots. I'm sure have not been taken down. But that's another matter entirely.
Yeah, what a year.
So the burning cross falls instead, and Tommy is saved. It falls on Teague, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
Falls on Teague.
We get rid of Big Dan, Pappy with his pappies in tow. We learn Vernon is campaign manager for Stokes, right? And they're trying to get him to switch sides.
Right.
And Stokes shows up with one of his own little cronies. And
Vernon's like, I can't switch in the middle of a campaign.
Yeah, that's it. That is it. And the boys, they take the stage in beards, and they sing at first in the jailhouse now. Everett's trying to get Penny's attention, but Tim Blake Nelson's actual singing voice is heard during this song. Like, this is actually him singing, and he's really good.
That's awesome. And
even though it's not John Turturro yodeling, his lip sync is on point.
Yeah.
He's making all these faces and stuff. It's great. That's great writing. That's great acting. Man.
It's really good.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Pappy is courting Vernon to get him to switch sides, and they launch into the Man of Constant Sorrow, and everyone goes wild. They go ape shit. Penny's jaw drops. Yeah. Clooney's dancing here cracks me up. I don't know what you call this little dance he's doing.
It's like how my papa dances. I mean, I don't know. Right. It might have been from that age.
I'm sure it is. Yeah. But it's such like an old timey little dance. But it just cracks me up to no end.
It's awesome.
It is. It's really funny. Like, I know a lot of people give Clooney flack for some of his career choices, but I think, when he's in a good movie, like when he has good material to work with, I'm thinking of Up in the Air. That's a great movie. He can really bring it home. I mean, like, he's really talented. My grandmother thinks he's gay because he's never married, and so that she's convinced that he's gay.
That's hilarious.
Which I'm like, nah, I don't think so. It's funny, like my mother and even my stepdad, like, they think because I'm gay, I have this like magic gaydar thing. And so they'll like ask me about people like, hey, do you think so-and-so works with so-and-so is gay? Like, do you think he is? Like, he's kind of effeminate or whatever. I'm like, I don't know.
Do I have like hypersensitivity?
Yeah, and they'll like send me a picture of somebody. Like,
oh my gosh,
this is not how it works, people. Like, you can't.
I don't have telepathic
communication.
communication.
I mean, there are like cues. There's speech patterns, body language, and there's stuff that you intuitively pick up on that you're like, maybe so, but it's not like there's some kind of friggin' Sherlock Holmes process that you can undergo to discover that. Like, who cares anyway? But
yeah, right.
Yeah. So Stokes, he grabs a mic and says that he says they ain't white, and they interrupted his ceremony.
I'm a part of a secret society.
Yeah, I'm part of a secret society. He said something like, I probably don't have to tell you what society I'm talking about. But he outs himself as a Klansman, and the people are not happy. They take him away. Great applause.
It's like, Israel is or Israel ain't my constituency.
Yeah. My constituency, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
But they just quickly get rid of him, and they're back to the music. Wild applause. I mean, this is like the Beatles shit right here.
Right?
Yeah, the Beatles straight. Beatlemania. This is soggy bottom mania.
So the little detail is, if you watch this movie again, be very intuitive on the back of the room or that shack, the shed, and you'll see that there is an exit sign right above the door. On the back door, there's still an exit sign.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one thing they forgot to leave out of the movie.
Interesting.
Is that exit sign. Yeah.
Wow.
Because they didn't have exit signs back then.
Yeah. I will sometimes see stuff like that, but I did not pick up on that. So I'll definitely look for that next time.
Yeah.
The one thing that I often will notice is products with barcodes on them in a time where there weren't barcodes. I can't remember when barcodes came out. It was like the 80s maybe. But yeah, like you'll see like a period film set in the 50s or 60s, and they'll be drinking, a beverage, or they'll have like a food product near them, like a cereal box or something that has a barcode on it.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
But again, like it's just one of those little things that if you're not paying attention, you'll miss it. And so no big deal. So Pappy sees an opportunity. He climbs on stage, and Everett, he's tugging at his beard, driving everyone crazy. It's just like, I'm just a stranger. It's like that part of the song. And he's like pulling on his beard. And like,
his wife's like, oh my God.
Yeah. Pappy's dancing, and he's fighting for the microphone, and he aligns them with his platform against Stokes. And so he's campaigning, he's politicking, he's using that rhetoric, and he pardons them on stage.
In front of everybody, yeah.
In front of everybody. Yeah. And they're going to be a part of O'Daniel's brain trust. And they do a chorus of You Are My Sunshine. We hear that Vernon's on leave, and Everett and his lady are going to retie the knot. Ain't going to marry with the Vernon's ring, though. So the ring that Everett had given her is in an old cabin that is in the path of where the flooding is going to take place.
Yep. This woman, she is the character for Elastigirl in The Incredibles. That's who she plays.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Interesting.
The woman who plays. Yep.
I need to see that one again. That's a good movie. I haven't seen the second one.
The first one's better, in my opinion.
So they come across George Nelson again. We haven't seen the last of him after all. The G-Man finally caught up to him, and they're going to electrify him. And it's like he's in his element when he's, on the other side of the law. He thrives on being a criminal. And like when he doesn't have that spotlight, I think that too might go hand in hand with your reading of that scene, like where he's kind of down and he leaves the boys. That spotlight isn't there. Like he needs to be this. He's a loudmouth. Like he loves to talk and boast and everything. Like this is him in his element right here, and he's gonna get electrocuted, and he doesn't give a shit, man. He's excited about it.
What's hysterical about all this is, okay, I mean, you've got George Nelson, but then you've got these two weird ass guys, one playing a fiddle, one playing a guitar, going apeshit crazy. And then you got all the way in the back, this random ass woman leading a cow and just repeatedly saying, cow killer.
Cow killer.
Like, the fuck?
Shit, I missed that. How did I miss that?
Yeah, I mean, she's just like ringing a bell, like, and leading this cow like it's a horse, and it's just saying, cow killer. It's the funniest shit.
That's awesome. Everett goes to this cabin to look for this ring, and this cabin is actually based on the cabin from The Evil Dead. And
wow.
And I didn't know this, but Joel Cohen was the assistant editor on that film. It was his first feature. There you go. But it's a trap. Cooley's there with his hound. There are graves dug. Make your prayers. And the grave diggers are crooning this somber tune. And I don't know. I feel like they do so much with Everett's character in this scene. They do so much more with it. They've set up so many things about his character that in this scene, they really kind of pull it together. Like, for example, like he's praying to see his daughters again. And, the ground's vibrating. Water is pooling at their feet. And the cabin is blasted away by this avalanche of water. Floating
really
banjos. Cool. Yes, very cool. Dapper Dan cans and the hound, and because they blasted the dam. But it's like in the moment, like when he was praying, like such a strong believer, and and as soon as it's over, he's completely turned away from that. He's well.
I mean, it's like he never was afraid at all.
Yeah. They crest the water, and they're saved by a floating coffin, and Everett reverts back to his way of scientifically explaining away all of the happenings, out with the old spiritual mumbo jumbo.
Right.
Just says so much about who he is. I mean, he's a fictional character, but that just gives him so much depth, I think.
Yeah. And then the black guy in that whatchamacallit, said that they'll be seeing a cow on top of a cotton house,
Oh, yeah.
And that's what they do. That's what they see.
That's right. Yeah. So we get that prophet. Yeah. The blind prophet. Yeah. And when they spy Tommy, he's riding on a roll top desk. And they get it back into town. Everett's back with his wife, back with his children. He's all gussied up, looking like a man about town. Very cosmopolitan. and at the end here, like he has this line, finding one little ring in the middle of all that water is one hell of a heroic task, is a reference to the legend of Theseus, who had to find a golden ring at the bottom of the ocean to prove he was the son of Poseidon. So we do get that little callback to that mythology. And we get this really awesome final shot. Like it feels like it bookends the film so well, where it fades to black and white, and that the blind prophet is singing and pumping his way on his whatchamacallit across the tracks away from us. And
that's awesome. It's
great. Wow. So that's Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Holy shit. Yeah. So final thoughts. What do you think, man?
So Meet Joe Black is my second favorite movie. This is my all-time favorite movie, if that says anything.
Oh, it does. So, it certainly does.
Yeah, I mean, this has been my childhood film for as long as I can remember. I've grown up with it. I still watch it. Yeah, I mean, it's just, the script is brilliant. It's a beautiful family film. I mean, any child can watch it. I mean, and it speaks volumes to history, to humanity, to the world today. I mean, you can watch this movie and learn more than you can in a history book. It's so profound, and I really believe that all families should watch this to teach their kids about how people treat people, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
Both back then and today, and you can really learn a lot from this movie. Even on a spiritual level. I mean, I know they didn't really go much into the whole being saved type of aspect, but it still says a lot about Southern Baptist culture. Mm-hmm. It says a lot about how people say they're Christians, but then at night they go and put bed sheets on
right? And ride around. Yeah, exactly.
And ride around. Yeah. So yeah, it's a good movie. It really is.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was not expecting to like it more this time around. I thought that I would appreciate it in a deeper sense, but at the same time, I had so much fun with this. I felt like the first time I saw it must have just been the wrong time. But now it's just like, I'm proud to have it on my shelf over here. Like it's such a good film. And again, like I said, incredible acting, incredible script. The visual aesthetic it's so appropriate for the time, and it sets the mood. The music is incredible. Go watch this if you haven't seen it. And if you haven't seen it in a while, I definitely want you to go see it. Hopefully you've seen it before you've listened to this episode. But
hopefully,
because we just spoiled the hell out of it. All right, so it's that time. Well, we want to give a special shout out to our patrons who support the show over on Patreon. We have Mondo, Pete, Colin, Mike, Jack, Lewis, Tess Pattern, Bloody and Love, James, Ryan M, Ryan S, and Mark. Thank you all so much for supporting the show. We hope you are all safe, happy, and doing well. And if you're interested in becoming a patron of the show, visit us at patreon.com/VericonVideo for more information.
And now, coming soon to video cassette.
So let's talk about what's going on next time. So first, over on Patreon, you'll be riding along with Alonzo and learning the ins and outs of being a cop, virtuous or otherwise, in Training Day from 2001. And then over on our main feed, we have a fugitive on the loose, and we're going to be joining Sam Gerard and his quirky team of U.S. Marshals to do a hard target search of every gas station, residence, warehouse, farmhouse, hen house, outhouse, and doghouse in the Cook County area for Dr. Richard Kimball. So get your Provasic prescription filled and join us next time for one hell of a manhunt in 1993's The Fugitive.
It's going to be awesome.
Remember to rate and review the show on iTunes. If you have questions, suggestions, or just want to tell Brandon and Joseph what you think of the show, send them an email at vericonvideo@gmail.com or call the Vericon Video hotline at 312-620-5560. They are also on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Vericon Video. Thank you for listening, and stay tuned for Brandon and Joseph's next chat about another exciting movie from the rental era. So long, and peace out.
Goodbye, Vietnam! I'm out of here. I got the lucky ticket home, baby.
Okay, bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, Jenny.
Bye-bye, boys.
Have fun storming the castle. Goodbye.
Do take good care of yourself.
What is this, your farewell speech? Going home. Have a good trip.
Hasta la vista, baby. I have to go.
Adieu. Auf Wiedersehen. Gesundheit.
Farewell.